This is a summary for Daf Nun Daled. Essentially, in this Maimer, the Alter Rebbe is explaining the posuk that is the Haftarah of Parshas Shmos that says, "Habaim yesharesh Yaakov." Those who come and Yaakov has implanted in them, they will ultimately flourish and blossom. And this is a mashal for the concept of mitzvahs. That when we do a mitzvah, it may seem like a seed. It's just plain; it doesn't have any aroma, flavor, beauty, and so forth. And yet, when we put that seed into the soil, it blossoms and flourishes. Similarly, the father's contribution without the mother's gestation will not develop into anything. When the mother nourishes the child, even though the child is nourished by the mother, the child can do something that the mother is not. She can give birth to a boy because she is developing what is innately concealed within the contribution of the father, much as the soil stimulates what is innately concealed within the seed, although we may not recognize it at any level. And it may seem that this seed is simply worthless like a piece of wood. And yet, as we can observe, when we put the seed in the soil, it blossoms and it becomes a fruit with the virtues of the fruit, the aroma, the taste, the beauty, which can produce more fruit, etc. This is why David HaMelech writes that rechavah mitzvosecha meod, the mitzvahs are wide. Torah is considered longer, but the mitzvah is wider because the mitzvahs have the capacity to evoke the innate, infinite godliness that is contained within the physical. So we transform wool into tzitzis and leather into tefillin. We expose a godliness like the fruit that's exposed from within the seed that would otherwise never be imaginably reached. This illustrates a story of Chamnina ben Dosa, who was once so poor that he davened to Hashem, and Hashem sent him a golden leg from a table. But his wife realized that this was being taken from his olam haba. So she implored him to return it. And he davened and Hashem took it back. And it's explained that that second miracle of Hashem taking it back was greater because it is the nature of heaven to give and not to take. Then Chassidus goes on and explains that it is greater because the process of turning the spiritual into the physical is the standard process of hishtalshelus. That's what Hashem does. He turns ayin into yesh. To turn yesh, to turn a physical item back into something spiritual, this is truly a greater miracle. And this is essentially what we do. That when we take a physical item and we transform it into something spiritual by utilizing it as a mitzvah, we develop a godliness and that is otherwise unnoticed. Now we explain that in the unnoticeable godliness, there are, again, further levels. There is a level that is called the makif hakarev. It's unattainable, but we can have the experience of its impact upon us, like a person who was uplifted by davening with a minyan because the Shekhinah is there, or he is inspired by seeing others who daven with great intensity, or like the story of the bas kol that came forward that nobody heard, but everybody was affected by. This is the tangible illustration of that which cannot be seen, measured, or felt. And then there is the unfelt. It's so distant that it can't be felt, the makif harachik. And that will be revealed after the time of Moshiach, which is why in the time of Moshiach, we will have the experience of tchias hamesim, the greatest violation of the hard and fast rules of nature. Nature depicts that there is life and death. And when this makif level that is so distant that it will transform the living, the dead into the living, it is even more profound than the transformation of the fruit from the fruit seed. And this is similar to the description about how Yaakov Avinu, who is the third of the avos, is able to make peace between the physical, which is distant from Hashem, like the quality of Gevura, and the spiritual, which is like the love of Hashem, represented by Avram Avinu, that is close to Hashem, that we are an embodiment of conflict. On the one hand, we have the sense of great distance from Hashem that makes us very sad. On the other hand, we have a Neshama, which brings us very close to Hashem. And the mechanism that brings the two together is the characteristic of Yaakov, the call, the voice, the breath of Yaakov that can combine the fire and the water, and thus to flourish and bring out that level of godliness.